Okay. So sitting, any way that works for you. It could be cross-legged or it could be kneeling. And you're just going to take a moment to settle in. So the reason I suggest sitting up on something, and we were just talking about this at the beginning, is so that you can find maybe something that feels a bit more neutral through the pelvis. So if there's any tightness in the hips, and certainly as the belly gets bigger, then we're sort of pulled forward slightly. The pelvis is drawn forward. So when you're lifting up on something, we have more ability to kind of root down through the tailbone and find like a neutral curve in the lower back. So that usually feels pretty helpful. So you might like to bring a hand to the belly or both hands to the belly, and you can also take one hand to the heart. So here or here. And we've just been chatting for quite a while. So take a moment for yourself just to settle in, closing the eyes. Acknowledge whatever is present for you today. Just giving space to how you feel in your body, heart, and mind, without judgment. So as we work through the different practices, I invite you to have a kind attention. Be really gentle and kind with yourself. And take a few deeper breaths to bring a sense of energy into the body. Invite those breaths to come all the way down into the lower ribs and into the belly. And you might even imagine that you're breathing into your back, because the lungs come way down the back. So you can imagine that you're breathing right into the lower back. And connect with your baby. So take a moment to welcome your baby. And as you know, I like to work with positive affirmations. So you might have something in mind right now, and otherwise you can repeat silently, I have everything I need to birth my baby. Or it could be, like if you're feeling a bit less confident, you could choose, I trust my body, or I listen to my body, or just, I'm confident. Okay, so just some examples to play with. Rest your hands wherever it feels good for you. Take a little circle of your shoulders. Yeah, and then we're just going to circle the head a few times. And we'll get a little bit more energy through the arms before we change posture, bringing the arms to the side, spinning the palms up. Take a big breath in, reach up your arms. And exhale, bring the hands down. Now on Saturday's class, we did quite a lot of omming. So keep going with this. And then we'll try chanting Om. If you're not comfortable with chanting Om, you don't need to. It's just a really nice way to practice using your voice. And the chant, the way in which you use like a nice low resonant chant can be really helpful during labor to help manage these sensations that you experience. Because on the next one, I'm going to chant Om. Join in if you'd like to. Big breath in. Om. Take your right hand down, bring your left arm up, and then come over into a beautiful side bend. Come all the way up. Reach up and go the other way. I don't know how it is for you, but I know that side bends feel good for me most of the time, but especially during pregnancy, especially when you're suddenly getting so much bigger in your belly. Just bringing that space into the side body feels delightful. Okay, now I'm going to get you to come onto your side, and I know we don't always do this, but I'll start on my right side and I'll talk you through right side so that makes sense. And if you're really not comfortable lying on your right side, then you don't have to do it. But for a short time, it's fine, it's perfectly safe to lie on your right side. It's just it's preferable as an option to lie on your left for a prolonged period of time. So what I recommend is having a blanket or a cushion or something for your head. And if your hips are feeling particularly sensitive and you're on a hard floor like me, you may want to put a blanket under your hips. Okay, so all of that is optional. And then if you can't see me, you can sit up and watch. So you can either put your arm underneath the pillow like this, or put your arm here like this. Either one will work. All right, so head on pillow and kind of arm underneath, or the other way. So I'm going to do this. And you're looking to get like a long line through your body. So I really hope you can see me okay. And because it feels a little bit wobbly, take your left hand in front of you and straighten your legs. And then just check that you're in this nice straight line from the back of the head all the way down through your upper back, okay? So all we're going to do is start to lift up the top leg. And again, if you feel wobbly, use your top hand for a bit of stability. So you're going to put some energy through the legs and then lift the left leg up off the right. Beautiful. And then nice and slowly with lots of control, bring your left foot back down to your bottom leg, okay? So you're lifting your top leg up and the leg is straight. And then you're bringing it down. Now we're going to do that with breath. So inhale, lifting. And exhale, lowering. And we keep going. Inhale, lift. As you breathe out, lots of control coming down. So strengthening the hips is really important in pregnancy, and it can also help when we start to strengthen the glutes to support your back. So in general, I'm looking to build a bit more strength in the back body to compensate for the increased weight in the front body and the way the posture changes, okay? So I'm not really counting, but if you were doing this on your own on the replay, you might count for 10 each side, okay? So I'm starting to feel it in my leg and a little bit in my hip. And then when you set your top leg down again, so assuming that's about 10, because I was talking and not counting, we're going to pick the top leg up a few inches, make the leg quite strong and straight, and then take a few little circles, just circling that top leg around over the bottom leg. And what you'll start to notice is heat building up around the outer hip. Okay, so just keep breathing as you do all this. And if there's any pain, if anything doesn't feel right, then of course, stop what you're doing, come out of the pose. So rest that top leg down on the bottom leg, and then bend both knees, okay, so that you're hopefully a bit more stable. And I haven't got like a 90-degree angle between my belly and my thighs. It's more like 45 degrees. So if you can see that, it's not all the way up, just a little bit down. And then we're going to do the clam, this clam exercise. So you're going to keep your feet together and lift your left knee, the top knee up, and then set it back down. So just as we did with the straight leg, you're going to inhale, lift, and exhale, slowly pop it down, okay? So again, we'll go for maybe 10 to 20 rounds. See if you can keep your pelvis fairly stable rather than rocking back towards your sacrum, towards your bum, okay? So you're just looking to lift the top knee up on the inhale and slowly down on the exhale, and finding a rhythm of breathing that works for you. And fairly soon you'll start to feel some heat building in the hip and maybe into the abdominal muscles. Now this is quite a good one to do postnatally as well. So just regaining some of that core strength and hip strength. Because during labor, especially if you're having a vaginal birth, the pelvis will obviously be opening very gently and gradually to birth the baby. So we're looking to just regain that feeling of support again postnatally. Okay, so I'm going to assume that we've done 10 to 15 on this side, and so just have a rest with that top leg down. And then we'll do one more thing here on the side, well, a couple of things on the side. So you're going to straighten the top leg but keep the bottom leg bent, so a little bit more stable for you. And then we'll take the top foot forward in front of you towards the floor. You maybe even tap the foot down to the floor and then lift the leg up and just bring it slightly back. You don't need to touch the floor because that's quite a big stretch. So you're going to maybe exhale, bring it forward, tap the floor, inhale, take it back, exhale, take it forward, inhale, take it back, exhale forward, inhale back. Taking about 3 more, and again, I'm rubbish at counting while I'm talking, so forgive me if we're not perfectly even on both sides. So if you're doing this, you're taking all these on board and practicing on your own, then there's the opportunity to really get that consistency. Beautiful. Okay, so let's just rest top leg down on bottom leg, and you can keep your knees bent. Now I'm going to come up so that I'm not lying on the floor with my head, and you put your right forearm across the floor. So just prop your right forearm under your right shoulder, and the right arm can be, we're nearly done on this right side, so the right arm can be across the mat. And then the only other thing to say is that if you've got really bony elbows and you're on a hard surface, you might want something soft, but be wary of it slipping. So if you want something soft under your arm, you can pop it there, but just try not to slip. So again, we're going to use that top hand for stability, or the top hand is going to come to the hip. You're going to push into the bottom arm and lift up with the bottom waist. And rather than having your shoulder creeping up to your ear, try and get a little bit of space between the ear and the shoulder, okay? So again, top hand can stay in front, or top hand can come to the waist. You're going to lift up on the inhale, lift your hip up, and on the exhale, set it back down. So we inhale, lift, and exhale, set down. So this is a version of side plank. And sometimes I instruct side plank with the legs straight, but this feels a little more stable. And so what you're doing, and you don't need to lift up very far, is you're looking to fire up and engage the waist muscles and the hip muscles. So if it's really tricky for you and you don't like this pose, this exercise, then I would say you can come up to a seat. If you want to amp it up, once you're lifting the hip up, you could straighten your top leg and take it forward, and then bring the hip and the leg back together. So you straighten and lift, and then return, okay? And pretty soon, like I'm already feeling it, you'll feel the right side of the waist getting a bit warmer, okay? Hopefully not hurting right elbow. So we'll pause there, and bring your hands in front of you, lift yourself up, and then just come into, keep the legs off towards your left, and we'll be in this kind of, like we call this mermaid seated pose. So I'm going to have my right leg in front, so it will look a bit backwards to you, but right leg is in front, left leg is back, right hand on the floor, and then we'll just give ourselves a bit of time off that side. So you can bring your left arm back and then sweep the left arm forward and up for a little bit of a twist. So you can inhale, take the left arm back, and exhale, sweep it forward and up. Okay, and the right hand is positioned wherever it needs to be so that your shoulders are relaxed, and we're just getting this lovely sort of flowing movement, building into a slight twist. Yeah, I'm going to hold the twist by bringing the left hand over to the right knee, lifting up nice and tall through the crown of the head, and allowing the left hip, the left thigh, to turn around towards the right. So hopefully there's a sense of space around the belly. And the twists can feel particularly good as long as we're doing them safely. They're a wonderful way just to regain that feeling of energy through the body. And slowly untwisting, okay? And then you can switch sides whichever way you want to. So I'm just going to turn so that you can see me and I can see you. I'm going to pop my arm on the cushion, but it could be the cushion under your head. Let me scooch up a bit. So the first one we'll do, straight line through the body, nice straight legs. Again, pad under your hip if you need to, if you're particularly bony and a bit more sensitive. Bringing your top hand to the floor in front of you, and try not to make like a banana shape, so get this nice straight line through the body. We're going to inhale, lift the straight leg up, and exhale, set it back down with lots of control. Inhale up and exhale down. So I'm just hovering my leg off the bottom leg, okay? And then depending on how well balanced you are, how flexible you are, you could bring the leg up a little bit higher. But actually low is fine, especially if there's any discomfort around the pelvic bones. So just synchronizing with your breath. And we're trying to stay fairly balanced rather than sort of rolling back towards your bum. So on side one, I suggested that we did about 10. And the thing about having your head up like I am, I'm sort of doing it so I can see you, is the neck starts to ache a bit. So that's why you may prefer just to have a pillow under your head and rest the head down. Okay, so let's do our little clamshells. So actually we'll do a circle first. So straight leg, and then draw a little circle if you're not rocking around too much. So I'm flexing my feet, which makes it feel a little bit easier. And you'll start to feel the heat building. So if my right side, I notice my right side is really much tighter than my left. So it doesn't take long before this right side starts to feel quite fatigued. Unfortunately. Okay. So we're going to set the legs down, bend the knees, and then we come into this clamshell exercise. So you can have your hand in front of you, be on your fingertips. Inhale, you're lifting the top leg up, and exhale, slowly set it down. So this one you could probably do for a slightly longer time. You might count to 20 or even 30. So just like opening and closing a shell, I'm keeping my heels together. And as we discussed at the beginning of the session, offline, before I started recording, sometimes the precision is just what we want. Sometimes I like to give lots of instruction and detail and precision, and other times I'm much more sort of loose with it all. And this one is a bit more about precision. Okay, so we set the legs down, okay, and then we're going to take that top leg straight again. Just have a rest for as long as you want to, and we'll bring the toe forward, and then we'll take it back. So I'm going to exhale forward and inhale back. And you want to stay fairly balanced, so not feeling too wobbly. Okay. Yeah, beautiful. Well done. Okay. So we'll just rest that top leg down. And then we're going to come up and we'll do this little version of side plank. So you put your forearm across the mat and you'll either have the hand in front of you or hand on your top hip. And again, rather than sort of sinking down into that left shoulder, lift up away from the shoulder. So the lifting is quite minimal and you're lifting up with your left waist. Okay, so we get the feet pressing down. You can inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. Inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. And you want to watch that you're not taking too much strain in the neck. So you may prefer to just look down towards the left hand once you have the movement. So we're hoping to, just minimize any more tension in the body. And like I showed you on first side, when you're lifting up, you could add in an extra level of difficulty, straightening out that top leg and then bending and bringing it down. Inhale, lift, straight, exhale, bend, set it down. Inhale, lift, straight, exhale, bend, and down. Okay. Some of these movements are a little bit more Pilates inspired than sort of more traditional yoga postures, but they have real value. Okay, so we're going to come up to sitting and take the legs off towards the side there. So you have your left leg in front of your right leg is bent. Doesn't matter if you feel a bit asymmetrical, taking your left hand to the floor. And then once we're sort of nice and upright through the spine, take a big breath in, reach your right arm out to the side. And as you exhale, you can sweep it across. So we're just starting to build into this beautiful, easy twist. And also, we talked a bit about energetics. I think some of the nice benefit of doing a bit more hip focus is sort of bringing awareness to the energy centers around the hips and the pelvis can help you to maybe feel a little bit more grounded. Oh, here comes the mad dog. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to take the right hand across to the left knee and then just hold that twist for a few breaths, lifting up nice and tall through the crown of the head. My dog shot in like a bullet. And then just turning to look over your left shoulder. Beautiful. Okay, let's untwist. So just reflect on how that felt. Take a moment to circle your shoulders and circle your head. We're going to come into all fours. Please do use a blanket if you need it under your knees. It can be really helpful during pregnancy. We get a lot more sensitive in the joints, but if you don't need it, you don't need it. So now, a tabletop position with your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. So we'll circle the hips around, getting a beautiful stretch through the lower back as you do that, keeping the arms a bit straighter. Notice how that feels. It might be a huge relief to come off your side and then circle the other way. When we do cat-cow, we're going to be cautious with the arched back posture. So come to a tabletop pose, spread your fingers, press down with the hands, straight arms, shoulders lifting up away from the floor, so shoulder blades lifting and widening. Tuck your tail under and then draw your belly up, lift your baby up towards your spine. And you can maybe just draw your head slightly forward and down. And then we're going to lift your sit bones, relax slightly the belly down, and then draw your chest forward. So you're not overdoing it in the lower back, okay? Exhale, round. We'll go with the breath. Get a bit more rhythm. Inhale, extend, small arch. Exhale, round, hugging the baby up. And inhale, extend. One more, exhale, round. Inhale, extend. Now I'll show you down dog and you can join in if you like to. If you don't want to do down dog, you can take your knees wide and come into child's pose. Okay, so if we're coming into downward facing dog, we start with knees bent, press the arms down, push as much as you can into the floor and lift your hips up and away from the floor. Relax your neck, relax your head. And then once you are there, you can think about perhaps pedaling the legs, straightening one leg, then straightening the other. If you're really flexible and this is easy, of course you can straighten both legs. But for many of us, we might need to keep that little bend in the knee or keep going with like this walking dog. And as soon as you need to, you can take your feet to the floor, knees to the floor. So just take your time with that. Beautiful. Okay, sit up on your heels or as you wish and circle your wrists a few times. I'm just going to quickly run through how those postures that we did on our sides can be done in all fours. We'll do this for a little bit of time and then I'll get you up standing. So we come back to all fours, press into the hands and find a tabletop position. So you want to feel your front ribs hugging up, okay? We can't always switch on the abdominal muscles. So instead we're going to bring those front ribs up. Then we lengthen back with the right foot, right leg straight. Breathe there, lengthen through your neck. Lift your right leg up and hold it. So this again is a bit similar to the one we did on the floor. Then you can turn your right foot out to the right side and bend your right knee and bring it out to the right side. And keep breathing. Stretch your right leg back. and bring the right knee down. And then we do the same on the left. Left leg goes back, toes on the floor, drawing up with the front ribs. Lift your left leg up. So we're not sagging in the lower back. You've got like a nice lifted lower back. We're going to turn the toes out to the left side, bend the left knee, bring the leg out to the side, any amount, and then take the leg back, all the way back to straight. Again, press and lift up with the front ribs and set the knee down, okay? And then we'll come off the wrists, take your feet nice and wide, tuck your toes, bring your hands close to your knees, preparing to stand, coming up with a nice level pelvis. So heels down, walk the hands up the legs. Beautiful. Take an inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, bring your hands down. You can have anything on the floor, you can just step around it. I'm just going to move that to be neat. So let's take some hip circles. Notice how we were on our sides, then we moved to all fours and we circled the hips. And then we've done a similar kind of pattern of movement in all fours using our hips. And now we're back to the hip circling. So it's just quite nice in between to get that bit of freedom. Okay, circle your shoulders. Good. Okay, so let's practice chair pose because that's going to help again to strengthen the back and strengthen the glutes and strengthen the legs. So you'll have your feet about hip width, not narrow, not too wide, something that feels about right. Your toes can be pointing forward or you can slightly turn it out. It doesn't really matter, okay? Then when we sink the hips down, we're looking to find some weight in the heels as well as the front of the foot. So we come into this imaginary chair and you can hold, let's bring the hands in front of the heart. And I want you to just notice, and you can always take a hand to your back, the lower back is in its natural curve. So you're not tucking your tail under. Can you see that? Not tucking under and not overarching like a duck, but just a natural curve. And we're looking to sit back in this imaginary chair. So the weight is going back. I find this quite tough, but the weight is going back towards this imaginary chair and towards your heels. And then we're lifting up, up, up with the chest. Okay? So we're going to move in and out. We'll straighten up. We'll inhale, bend the knees. And exhale, start to straighten. Not all the way. Inhale, bend the knees. And exhale. Good. Inhale, straighten. Sorry, bend. Exhale, straighten. Okay, keep going a couple of times. I just want to have a little look at you. That's amazing. And this is brilliant to do postnatally as well. So you get familiar with these postures and we can take it into the work we do postnatally. So if you wanted to add another level of difficulty, arms would come up. So you're giving yourself a bit more to do. We will inhale, imaginary chair. Exhale, you can bring the hands in. Inhale. Exhale. So as you exhale, nice and slowly, just thinking about bringing those glutes up. Yeah, inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And it's not long before you start to feel quite hot and quite fatigued. And as well as feeling it in the thighs, I'm hoping that you're feeling something in your butt. All right? So shake out the legs. Because we were talking about more precision, we're going to think about how we're standing and how we might stand during the day. So adopt a posture that you would take, like if you weren't thinking about it, like if you were just standing in the kitchen talking to your partner or standing in a queue. We're not doing much of that now these days. Or for me, not being pregnant, but this would be me. Legs would be locked back, knees hyperextended, pelvis would be tipping forward, lots of kind of collapsing in my lower back. So this is what's happening a lot in pregnancy. Pelvis is being tipped forward, belly getting bigger, boobs getting heavier, maybe the shoulders are also hunching forward, okay? So we're going to try and find like more of an equal standing and find that sense of balance through the center of the body. So you put your feet approximately under your hips. And then we wake the feet up by rocking forward and back. I'm lifting my toes and then I'm slightly lifting my heels, but very, very slightly. Yeah. And try and do this with your knees slightly bent rather than like a plank, straightening your knees, okay? A little bit of bend in the knees. Now move weight to the inner foot, to the toes, to the outer foot, and around the heels and back to the inner foot, and so on. So you're just shifting weight around the foot. I'm sure you're not wearing high heels in pregnancy, especially if you're not out and about doing a kind of a high-powered job now, but you're working at home on your computer. But heels are really bad for posture, especially in pregnancy. So flat shoes are better, but bare feet is even better, okay? But we really want to get our feet working. So notice how you feel, how it feels through the foot. And then when you come to an equal standing, press like the whole of the foot down. So the anchor points, the bits you're thinking about is the big toe joint, the little toe joint, and maybe all around the heel. So there's a kind of a feeling of even weight. And as you kind of press and ground your feet into the floor, think about lifting up through your body. So your knees are a little bit soft, slightly bent, not locking your legs back straight, but a little bit of bend. And then imagine you're drawing energy up through your thighs, and there's a slight lift up through the front of the pelvis. Okay, so Lizzie was talking about maybe correcting this, this arched back by lengthening through the tail. Maybe what you do, Lizzie, is you think about just gently drawing up with the thighs and with the front pelvis, rather than just taking everything to the tailbone. So we lift up through the spine, up under the armpits, and there's this nice broadening across the collarbones. The arms are going to come out to your sides, and you're just kind of resting your arms at your sides. And then the head, rather than being forward, is directly above the spine. So if you need to, you just bend your knees a little bit more and find center. Okay, just stand for a moment. I want you to feel what it's like to feel a bit more balanced, and compare what it felt like to that kind of not thinking about it way of standing. So when we do yoga, the intention is to kind of ground and press down and feel the support of the earth and feel the rebounding energy away from the earth. So suddenly there's a bit more space. There's a bit more space around your knees, around your ankles and your knees, and then your hips, and all up through the spine. Yeah, and space around the shoulders, and space to breathe. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Let's move into some postures so you don't kind of switch off. Let's take the right foot forward and the left foot back and come into warrior two. Take a wide step. You can be narrower if it suits you. And then the principles that we talked about with Tadasana is what you're looking at when you do any of the poses, especially the standing poses. So the sense of being kind of evenly balanced across the foot, of pressing down and lifting up. And what I love to do is just gently move in and out of the pose. So I'm really starting to feel how my hips and legs are working to feel strong, to be strong, and to feel stable. Okay, the right thigh is rolling out to the right. We draw up through the spine, and as you extend the arms away, you think about space, space across the chest. Hold the pose and breathe into the pose, breathe into your body. Turn the right palm upwards, reach up your right fingers, and keep your right thigh spiraling out to the right. So it's a really good strengthener for the thigh, for the glutes, and for the hips. Now touch your right forearm to your right thigh. You can also spin the palm up. Use the right waist like we did when we were lifting off the floor. So lift your right waist up off your right thigh and lift your left arm up and bring it over the ear. So the left foot is quite active and you're pressing down with the outside of the left foot, turning your ribs slightly up towards the ceiling. Good. One more big breath in. Exhale, we can push and come up, arms down. Okay, now whatever you want to do, turn your feet the other way or step the other way. We'll come into side two. Yeah, so we're taking that slightly wider step. Maybe reaching your arms. Maybe moving. So, you know, sometimes if the shoulders are really exhausted, like if you've been doing a lot of desk work, you might prefer just to roll your shoulders. If it works, bringing the arms out side to side is going to help to create strength in the upper body and in the shoulders. So as you're looking, you can try looking to the side or looking along your left hand. Breathing wide into the chest and into the belly. Feel the strength in the legs, okay? So these held postures and strong postures can help really give you confidence in what you're doing. And turn your left palm up and reach it up towards the sky. So sometimes we need to be a little bit quieter and a little bit more still to actually garner that feeling of confidence. And we set the left forearm on the leg. Again, you're using your waist to lift off the front leg and reach up the top arm. So tailbone is lengthening, left hip drawing in and under, left outer hip, outer right foot pressing down, fingers reaching up and forward. Breathe into the side. Good, last breath in. Exhale to lift, arms down, shrug your shoulders, move the feet in. Okay, so we'll take a little circle with the hips, and then we're going to take like a scooping movement. So we're bending the knees again, but this time on the exhalation, you're scooping your tailbone under, and inhale to lift. Exhale, scoop, inhale, lift. Just like you were scooping ice cream, yeah? Exhale, scoop, inhale, lift. If you do it quite slowly, it feels like you're really working the muscles around the pelvis. And this can be quite a good one if you start to get tension in the lower back or tightness in the lower back. This can be a very helpful movement. The other thing, I don't know, we won't do that tonight. I was going to show you another move. I'll show you next time. Okay. How are you all feeling? Are you all okay? Yeah? Okay, good. So, we'll stand on the right and we're going to bring the left foot off the floor. We're going to hug in the right outer hip. So remember what we did with mountain pose, with Tadasana. We are not just locking back with the standing knee. There's a feeling of pressing into the foot and lifting up and maybe keeping a micro bend in the standing leg knee, pulling in with this outer hip and then lifting the foot off the floor. So it might be that you don't lift the foot up very far, or you bring the foot up, knee up enough so you can catch hold of the front of the knee. And this standing leg hip is working quite hard. The hip is pulling in, the glute is engaged. Now see if you can find that nice feeling of drawing up through your spine and through the top of the head, and just keep breathing, okay? If you're wobbly, you stand next to a wall and your right hand holds the wall or a chair. Okay, and then if you want to stay on that leg, you can put it down if you need to. You bring the foot in and we take tree pose. Okay, so it's like warrior two, we're in external rotation in that lifted leg. And then we're going to kind of keep drawing in with the standing leg hip and bringing the feet, the foot and the leg in towards each other. So you can bring your hands together or hold onto the wall or reach your arm up. And sometimes when we're in tree pose, we overarch the lower back and we kind of collapse here. So maybe better just to hold the knee or put the foot lower down the leg and feel like you're dropping your tail and you're just gently lifting up with the belly. So it all starts in the feet. Okay, and then when you come out of the pose, shake out the hips or circle the standing ankle. And you can just loosen up a bit, and then we'll try the other side. So I'm hoping that I'm getting across that we're interspersing the holds and the precision with a little bit more freedom. We're standing on the left. You're going to press down with that left foot and sense that rebounding energy, okay? The left knee is not locked back. So we just play with balance. And remember, because your center of gravity is changing all the time, you're pregnant, as the baby gets bigger, this is the work. Just always going, right, where's balance now? Where's center now? Okay, so you can bring the leg to the side, you can bring the leg in, foot. You might need to kind of bend both knees to get the foot up. And then you can work on that strong standing leg. Pulling in with the left hip, lifting up and away from the floor, palms together or hands reaching up. Okay, so breathe and smile. Okay, you're doing an amazing, amazing job. And remember, you're already perfect as you are. You don't need to change yourself. What I'm suggesting with the practice of yoga is that we meet ourselves where we're at and we look at how we can really improve the quality of our life and align ourselves with our deepest intentions. So the arms down, yeah, and the legs down. Okay, and then we're just going to circle out the hips or the ankle. Beautiful. So we'll take, let's take a forward bend. And you can have a wide stance or you can have your feet closer together. If your feet are coming closer together, you might have a chair or something to put your hands on, or the blocks. Now we're going to think about coming in and out with a flat back. So we're starting to build up that back strength again, because you can't lie on your belly and do things for the back. So we're doing it in standing. Okay. So we're going to put the hands on the hips, lift the chest, and then a little bend in the knees so that you're hinging forward from your hips. And notice I'm not rounding. So I'm keeping my tailbone and my sit bones pointing back. And I'm traveling forward, forward, forward. So if your hamstrings are tight, you're going to bend your knees. And then your hands come to a chair or the floor. And see if you can work first of all on maintaining more like a flat back. Yeah. And then if you want to go into a deeper stretch where you're sort of letting go, you can allow your back to round. But actually you can really effectively stretch out your back, being that little bit further up from the floor. So see how that feels. And sometimes in this yoga posture in particular, we are encouraged to be really still. Now that's okay to a point, but what you might want to do is just very gently move your hips side to side. And that might be like a little bend in one knee and a little straighter in the other. And this sort of movement I found was really helpful during labor. So you might not be in a forward bend like you are, but you might have your forearms on a bed or at the wall. And getting this nice space around the hips and around the back, because sometimes the tightness that we feel is not in the belly from the uterine contraction, sometimes it's in the back. So movements like this can be really incredibly helpful. Okay, now to come up, you're going to use a flat back. So bend your knees and put your hands on your thighs, and then come up really, really slowly. Fabulous. Okay, I'm going to set this away and we'll come to the back of the mat. And take a breath in, reach the arms up. Exhale, hinge forward, come all the way forward. Walk the hands forward, come into down dog or come into all fours, or you can take a rest in child's pose. If you're enjoying downward facing dog, then you're welcome just to let your head relax down. And like I said in the standing poses, sense that you're pushing into the floor with the arms and then rebounding up. So there's that feeling of energy moving up through the arms and through the spine and through the waist, rather than feeling collapsed down. Okay, and if you're in cat pose, you can take cat-cow or hip circles or child's pose. Okay, and then when you're ready, set your knees down. So I know we've been moving a bit more slowly today, but it was good to be a bit more precise. So we'll have a go at pigeon pose. Now, a good alternative to pigeon pose is, you might find this tricky depending on the size of the bump, but you can bring an ankle across the knee and then you can have your hands wherever it needs to be. So we're actually stretching into the outer hip and the glute, okay? If you're able to do pigeon pose, bring your right knee forward and we'll take the shin. And the other thing you can do is have a cushion or a folded blanket to put under your front hip. So this is to stretch out the outer hip, which we've worked, and the glute, which we've worked. And you'll also feel the hip flexor. So you start by staying up high enough, feeling a bit more even left, right across the pelvis, supporting yourself with your arms, maybe adding in a little bit of movement. And we're not doing a long hold here. And then I've got bricks, but you might have books or cushions, something that you can rest on where you're in no danger of kind of squashing your bump or feeling uncomfortable. Okay, and if you prefer, you can stay up on straight arms, or you might be able to get down forearms to the floor, but I just, hopefully there's still a feeling of space around the belly. So that little bit of movement might be helpful. And then go ahead and lengthen through your neck, or even drop the head down. If you have the right size prop, then forehead could rest on something, which feels fantastic. So I'm not encouraging you to spend a fortune on yoga props, but I think these bricks are a really helpful prop. So before you switch sides, you might want to take your right hand a bit closer to your right knee and your left hand slightly forward. So you can maybe roll, it depends where the front foot is, but I can roll slightly off to my left hip and then maybe add in a little bit of a twist, but nothing that feels uncomfortable for you. This is quite a small twist. And when you find center again, if your knee is okay, you can lift up your back foot to really get into that back thigh. And if you think you can hold on to the back foot, you can move your right hand into the center and reach around with the left. Now that way you've got like a nice open space for your belly. If you can't get hold of the foot, really don't worry, okay? And then we very carefully set the foot down, bring the hands close to the front leg, lift the hips up, and then we come back into, now it might be downward dog, or it might be puppy dog with your knees on the floor and your hands stretching forward. So something where you can find that nice stretch through your back. My tail is lengthening or tucking under. And a really good way to counteract that sort of pregnancy slump where your lower back just feels really uncomfortable. Bringing the left knee forward now for pigeon on the second side. Taking, depending on how your hips are built, your heel will be in the center or your heel will be more across the mat. So your left knee will be more in the center or it will be over to the left. And we're looking just to find that symmetry left-right. And maybe if you're really high up, you just take that bit of padding under your hip. And rather than feeling too pinchy at the lower back, we're going to come forward, look for space through the waist. Maybe set your forearms down or support your head. And because there's more space now at the back is more open, breathe into your back, like really imagine those nourishing breaths filling the back of the lungs. And feel all that space in the right side of the hip and right thigh. Good. And then when you bring your hands back a little bit, so what you could do is take your left hand a bit closer to the left leg and maybe reach your right hand. This is kind of awkward, but I'm just bringing my hip slightly, I'm bringing my weight slightly over to the right, and then I'm going to recenter and lift my right foot up. So again, if that doesn't work for you, just come back to all fours or come back to down dog. So the left hand, same as the front knee, can come more in the center, and you might be able to reach back and catch hold of the foot. So if it throws discomfort into your lower back, it may not be worth it, but it could be a good way just to stretch through the thigh, through the hip flexor. Depending on how the kneecap is orientated, it could be better to have something soft under your knee. So when you release your hands back down, place them near the front knee, tuck your back toes, lift your knee up, and then we can come back into down dog, or knees down, puppy dog, nice symmetrical stretch. Okay, and then walking your hands back, coming into, let's just take like a kneeling pose for a moment, just so that you can shrug your shoulders and circle your head. So what we haven't done is a lot of kind of inner hip stretching. I wanted to focus a little bit more on strengthening and stabilizing today. So I hope that's been really useful. We're going to get ready for Shavasana. And I'll just say that I'll probably add on to this sequence in another class and bring in a few more dynamic standing poses. And we might just recap on some of those initial ones on the floor we did. Okay? So any resting pose that works for you. You can be lying on your back or your left side, or maybe taking that sort of arrangement that we did. We've only got about 10 minutes if we're finishing on time. And please ask me if you need any help. So remember, Ksenia, you were here last week. It's a good idea, and I know that you're in kind of the earlier weeks. So if you're still comfortable lying on your back, take some support under the knees so that you can have like maybe a bit higher than this, so you can bend your knees. And if you're going on your left side, you want to have enough height under your legs or between your legs, so you can have a cushion under your head. Perhaps you might need padding under your hips. And then this top leg is either going to be supported like this, or the bottom leg is straight and the top leg is well supported. So that can be really helpful when we start to feel discomfort in the lower back, thinking about ways in which you can support yourself when you're sleeping or resting. And if you've chosen to recline, then be well kind of supported under your knees and under the outside of the legs. Okay, so take your time to fidget and get settled. Take a few deeper breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. With every exhalation, letting go of the weight of the body. And we'll practice golden thread breath just for a few breaths. If you prefer to leave it, then no problem. You can just breathe in a nice, easy rhythm. For golden thread, you're going to make a small gap between your teeth and lips. Breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the mouth. And it takes much longer to exhale. In through the nose, exhale the mouth. Imagine as you breathe out that there's a fine golden thread, like a sewing thread, an embroidery thread, and it's coming out from the lips. With every exhalation, the thread on the breath is moving away from the body and away from the lips. Lengthening each exhalation to promote calm. Following the exhale. And then complete this golden thread practice by just taking a sighing breath. And allow your breath to settle into its own rhythm. Notice your facial muscles, relax your eyes, relax your cheeks, soften all around the mouth, the jaw. Be aware of your shoulders, relax them down. Whichever posture you're lying in, see if you can find ease and comfort as you settle your back towards the floor, towards the support. Relaxing and softening your arms, your hands and your fingers. Everything feels open. Breath moving easily. Notice the rhythm of the inhale and the exhale, just like a wave. So befriending the breath, and the breath leading you into great comfort and ease. Now become aware of your hips. So the outer hips, the glutes, your buttocks, the inner hips, hip creases, groins, all around the pelvis. See if you can find softness. Tracing your awareness down into the legs, all the way down to the ankles, the feet, and the toes. Allow the weight of the legs to relax down. The whole body feels supported. You can let go. You might like to visualize your baby, whatever stage of pregnancy you're at. In the mind's eye, see the image of the baby, baby's head down, baby's little spine curved to your belly. Seeing the baby's 2 arms tucked in and 2 legs tucked in. And your beautiful little baby being rocked by your breath. I invite you to cultivate a sense of trust in yourself, in your body, and in your baby. So we are aware of any sensations with kind attention. This moment just for you and your baby. To settle into ease. Now reconnect with your breath. Cultivate deeper breaths. Bring the breath into the belly. Notice the whole body. And start to gently move and stretch. You can start to stretch out your fingers and stretch out your toes and wiggle your toes. Do whatever feels good for you in this moment. And if you prefer to stay sitting or lying, then of course you are welcome to do that. No need to move. You're in your own home, just as you wish. And if you are ready to make some bigger stretches, you can start to stretch your arms up, or maybe stretch out your legs. If you're lying on your side, use your top arm in much the same way that we did in the initial postures to just sort of roll back up, and if you want to come up. And if you're lying on your back, you roll to your side first, okay? So again, no rush to come up, but if you are ready, we'll come into a pose that we had at the beginning with a hand on the heart and a hand on the belly, but any seated pose. And something where you can find like a really nice alignment through the spine. So again, that cushion might be helpful just to allow your pelvis to come into neutral, head over heart over pelvis. A moment to acknowledge your baby and maybe have a silent conversation with your baby. And I really invite you to think about what affirmations would support you during this time of pregnancy, also towards birthing, maybe beyond. So if you're a person who struggles with confidence, it could be, I trust my body, I trust my baby. If you're somebody who's just busy all the time, it could be, I am relaxed and easeful. Okay, so you find maybe a few mantras that really work for you, that really speak to you. And just take that time to get really calm, really quiet. Repeat them silently or repeat them out loud. So we're speaking directly to the subconscious mind. And then the one which I love, which is great preparation for birthing, is I have everything I need to birth my baby. I have everything I need to birth my baby. We'll bring the hands together in front of the heart. Acknowledge yourself and all this good work that you're doing. Yeah, doing something good for you and your baby, and really thinking about the way in which you want to be and the experiences you want to have, and maybe how you want to birth and how you want to mother. So that is all good. We'll bow the head to the heart, the seat of intuitive wisdom. Thank you so much. Namaste. Sleep well, and I'm just going to pause